And I'm live. Just post that a little bit. I'll move back in a minute anyway. Copy. Let's pop this into Teams. Oh, it's chilly. Right then. I don't know whether it'll open, but we can give it a go. Yeah, I think it would. Oh, wrong thing. Still the wrong thing. I'm not doing very well. Just want to double check I'm getting all the questions for you. Yeah, basically. Here we go. She's got it. Right then, Year 9, we're going to have a look at the Potsdam Conference today. I'm going to start going now. Look at my hair, it's an absolute state. And that's another reason I'm going to start going now, because it's not good. Right, so as a little recap then, we looked at communism versus capitalism, with the basics of communism being about equality, a central control from the government in terms of the economy, in terms of businesses, in terms of kind of lifestyle, versus capitalism, which is more of that freedom. I don't know what it is about going live, I just yawn. About that kind of freedom for profit, the rich can get rich, the poor can stay poor, the poor can get poorer, you can jump between different wealth classes, and like I said, people can have a share of their profits, which is the main two ideologies that we're looking at in the Cold War. Then we looked at the Grand Alliance, didn't we? And we looked at, we had the UK, the USSR and the USA, who were all united in fighting a common enemy in the Nazis. And I've currently got someone coming to visit. I know he's coming, so I'll just stop. Hello, Shadow. This is Fletcher's come. Good boy, you stay there. Lay down. Lay down for me, Fletcher, please. Good boy. Good boy. Okay. Good boy. Right, so yeah, they've got this common enemy in the Nazis that they're willing to fight and put their differences in their capitalism versus communism aside, but there is tensions between Churchill and Stalin. Churchill being for the UK, Stalin being for the USSR, and FDR for the USA. Now, FDR was very much a peacekeeper. He was willing to kind of bend to what Stalin wanted. Churchill was very suspicious of Stalin. So, oh my God. So there was a lot of tension. I don't understand it. I've not yawned at all, unless I was on live stream. So there was a lot of tension between the three, but they kind of put that aside in favour of going after the Nazis. Now, we looked last lesson at the Tehran and the Yalta Conference. Now, everything went swimmingly at the Tehran Conference, which was in Iran in 1943. They agreed to open up a second front in France with Britain and the USA, so that Germany would be stretched over two fronts. They agreed that the USSR would join the war against Japan once the Nazis had been defeated. And also then they agreed that an area of Poland would be given to Stalin, as well as a United Nations being set up. Things didn't go quite as smoothly as at Yalta. They did reaffirm the fact that the USSR would join the war against Japan. They decided that Germany and Berlin would be divided into four, with each of the sections being controlled by the USA, UK, USSR, or France. That they were going to hunt down war criminals, like the Nazi war criminals. That the UN would be set up. They re-agreed that. And they also agreed that Eastern Europe, so where the Red Army had been advancing from the east, so countries like Romania, Poland, Hungary. This is a joke. Sorry. Hungary would all become part of the Soviet Union's sphere of influence. They did disagree about Poland and its borders, as well as reparations, and disagreed on how much Germany should pay to the USSR in terms of compensation, reparations. You know what that means from our Nazi German course. They then meet again at the Potsdam Conference in July 1945. Now, why is that significant? Well, that's significant because the war in Europe has ended. As you know from a couple of weeks ago, it's now about 10 days ago, roughly, we celebrated 75 years of VE Day, Victory in Europe Day, and that then was in May, on the 8th of May. So we know the Nazis now have been defeated, and it's just the kind of the war in Japan that is waging on now. So when they get there, the USA, the UK, and the USSR, there is already a difference. There's already something that's going on that's different. Apart from the USSR, like before, like the two conferences, was represented by Stalin. Stalin, still there. Now, when it comes to the USA, things are a little bit different. In that we have a guy called Truman come in. Now, during the Yalta Conference in February of 45 and the Potsdam Conference of July 45, FDR has had quite a few health issues, partly linked to his polio, but he has had quite a few issues with his health, and unfortunately he does die in, I want to say, April 1945, so he doesn't even see the end of World War II. And Harry Truman was Roosevelt's vice president, and as per American law, the vice president steps up and takes over. I'm sick of yawning. I'm not even that tired. Now, Truman is slightly different, massively different to FDR. He is not the type that's like, yeah, I'm going to be peaceful. Yeah, I'm going to agree with Stalin. Yeah, let's just get on. He's not like that. This guy is a massive anti-communist. Oh dear, we can see a slight problem. Now, initially, when they turn up in July, Churchill joins them. So you can imagine we've now got a massive person that is suspicious of Stalin, anti-communist, and we've got Churchill that turns up. So Churchill poses for the photos. Things are going really, really well. But Churchill has gone to this conference knowing that there is a general election going on in the UK at the time. Now, I don't know whether Churchill thought he was going to win it. I don't know whether he felt really confident. I'm not sure. But Churchill, instead of being at the election at home, goes to the Potsdam Conference and loses the UK election. So is replaced with a guy called Clement Attlee. Now, Clement Attlee is a funny-looking guy. He was not really that bothered about foreign affairs at this point. when Britain comes out of World War II, they are in a mess. We're in a mess financially. We've got this big empire, which is a financial drain on us. We've got a lot of men coming home that are really quite badly injured and have got mental health issues. And we really need to sort our country out before we start going and divvying the world up. So Attlee's like, yeah, great. I'm so glad I'm here, but I'm really not that bothered. My main priority is setting up a new health system called the National Health Service. Wonder why where that's come from. And he wants to set that up. He wants to get a welfare state in to help people that can't help themselves. So this is the new photo from Potsdam. So you've got Attlee just here. You've then got Truman, and then we've obviously got our friend Joseph Stalin. Just push that in a little bit so you can see it. There you go. So there are three new leaders, and the dynamics has now changed. It's very, very different. Attlee doesn't want to be there, and Truman and Stalin are very wary of each other. So this is just the background to the conference. So the conference not really even started properly at this point. It then gets worse. Okay, it then does get worse. There we go. Now, bearing in mind, the Grand Alliance had formed together and they were going to tell each other everything. The plan was that they were going to work together. They were going to defeat this common enemy. Great. They've still got Japan to defeat at this point. But they promised that they were going to talk to each other. They were going to keep the lines of communication open and things were going to be a lot stronger. Well, that's not necessarily true, because when the USA arrive at the Potsdam Conference, Truman just sort of casually drops in that America have been testing the A-bomb. Now, that is major for Stalin, because he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. This is a major new weapon. This has the power to wipe people out. You have not told me. You've made tests. It's pretty much ready to go to be dropped. Because if you think July, and we are here, this is like mid-July, and the first bomb is dropped in like early August, kind of, I think it's the 6th of August, either the first or second one is dropped. So the A-bomb's not just been like randomly tested. The A-bomb has been tested and is ready to go, ready to use. So that makes Stalin really, really paranoid. Making particularly these two, the USA and the USSR, really highly suspicious of each other. And like I said, Attlee's just kind of like, I don't need to be here. I really don't. Which doesn't help matters, if I'm being really honest. Attlee is just there. There's no other way of putting it. So let's have a look at the picture then. Before we go on to what they agree and disagree, the picture in Eastern Europe. So the major issue is that in Eastern Europe, the Red Army's still there, okay? So they've done all of May, they've done all of June, and now they're into July, and the Red Army haven't left. The Nazis are no longer there, but the Red Army is. And the rumours that were coming back to the Western powers, so the UK and the USA, was that the Red Army were not treating the people of Eastern Europe properly, and this is the case. The Red Army were well known for pillaging and rape and starting fights and just being kind of thuggish at this point. And it, you know, whether I'm not justifying it, whether it's because they were away from home, I don't know, but they weren't treating the people very nicely, and they hadn't cut down any of their forces. So the same forces were there that had gone in to go and defeat the Nazis. So it was still kind of like this state of war. Furthermore, Stalin actually had set up his own communist government in Poland, which completely ignored what they talked about at Yalta. And he was then kind of thinking about putting that into place in other Eastern European countries. This pen is rubbish. This will be going in the bin. So Poland was now communist, and the plan was to expand the Polish model out to the rest of Eastern Europe, which went down like a sack of potatoes, as you can imagine. I was going to say something else, but obviously that's not right. So we've got our three then. We've talked about a little bit of background, a bit of a recap. Let's then talk about what was agreed and what was disagreed then. Like I said, just to kind of let you know, I am taking this all from what I know, obviously, but also I'm using the textbook to keep me on track because I talk about this for days, weeks on end. And everything that you need to know is found in the textbook page that I've attached on Teams and show my homework, just to answer those questions on that PowerPoint slide. If you can't access PowerPoint, I attached a PDF version so that you could then either write them down or use Word. Okay, what agreements were made then? So even though Potsdam was off to a rocky start, there were some agreements that were made that were pretty significant. However, they are very similar to the previous two. So, our first agreement. This pen is shocking. So the UK, USSR, the UK, USA, and France would be in the west of Germany, so that they then were kind of nearer to the controlling country. Germany would be demilitarized. Now, if you remember in our previous course, this was a similar thing that happened in World War I afterwards, in that they wanted to demilitarize Germany, and they had their army reduced to 100,000 men. They were only allowed 6 battleships, no submarines, no tanks, no aircraft. They had a very reduced army, weren't they? 15,000 officers, I think, were only allowed. So they were very cautious about how they were going to do this. Now, they would demilitarize Germany, so i.e. the German army wouldn't exist, but that wasn't to say that they then would be left vulnerable. They would be protected by the French, the UK, the USA, and the USSR Red Army. So they would have something in place. The next thing that they establish is democracy. So you could effectively think of this as 3 Ds. Now, for the last kind of 13 years, so since 1932, Germany had been under the Nazi rule, and that was all their infrastructure was built on. You know from your course, the economy was built around the Nazi ideals, education, women's lives, the whole politics of Germany was revolved, or it was Nazified, we would call it. So when the Nazis then are gone, it leaves this thing called a power vacuum, where anybody can take over, and it sucks all the bad people into, or loads of people into, this vacuum and creates chaos. So the powers agree, the Grand Alliance agree that they are going to set up and re-establish democracy. There's no longer going to be a dictatorship. They're going to have free elections, free press, freedom of speech, things that they've been deprived of under the Nazis, and they would manage that. So we've got divided, demilitarized, and democracy. Then this doesn't fit it. Now, there is no getting away from this, that when you lose a war, you do then need to pay for it, particularly when you have gone around invading loads of different countries. Obviously, I know Adolf Hitler had died at this point, but when you have taken your country and started invading and, causing a world war, you do have to have some sort of financial punishment for that. Now, we know that the Germans were charged £6.6 billion in reparations in World War One as part of the Treaty of Versailles. That was then totally avoided in this particular agreement. They knew that some reparations had to be paid. No one was disagreeing with that. What they were disagreeing in is how it was paid and what the form of payment was. So most of the reparations would be going into the Soviet Union, because the Soviet Union had actually suffered the most in terms of World War II out of the three allies. And they would be given a quarter of industrial goods rather than money, so that it couldn't bankrupt Germany again and lead to World War III. Another thing that happened. Ooh. Just make sure you can still see it. Yeah, you can. Nazi Party was banned. I don't think that's particularly a shock that the Nazi Party was banned. And they were put on trial as war criminals and, held to account for their crimes if they didn't commit suicide. Or go into hiding, which a lot of them did. Again, they talk about how there's going to be a United Nations. That's just a recappy one. And finally, they then say that they're going to move the borders of Poland. That's not massively important. Right, nitty-gritty stuff. So they agree on a lot. That's fair play. They do agree on a lot. But what they disagree on is huge. Oh my God. No one needs to see that. I've lost weight, not that you can tell from this flattering angle. So they disagree on two things. And like I said, they are major, major things. So the first thing they disagree on is reparations. So the leaders can reach an agreement at what to do with Germany. 20 million Russians had died in World War II, and Stalin wanted, rightly, some compensation for that. Now, he wanted to have war payments that would cripple Germany. Oh, are we sounding familiar here? Oh, this pen. Come on, you can make it through this lesson. Wanted to cripple Germany. He wanted the massive financial implications. He wanted to protect the Soviet Union from a potential future invasion. But Truman was like, no. Truman was dead set against this. He did not want a repeat of the Treaty of Versailles. He wanted this to be more of a peace treaty. He was not prepared to put them in the same position. And this is when you get the argument of how much money is Stalin going to receive versus how much goods is he going to receive. So he kind of gets 3/4 money, 1/4 goods as a sort of compromise, but it's not a healthy agreement. It's a massive disagreement that they come to. The next thing, and this is the biggest one of all, free elections. Oh, whoops. Sorry, Fletcher. Sorry. Free elections. This pen is disgraceful. Now, in the UK, it works differently in America, so I'm only speaking from the UK's point of view here. But in the UK, when you are old enough to vote, you will go to a polling station. It will be and you get little booths, and if it's booths, you'll find a slip where you will be able to, I think you collect it from the person, but you will be able to vote for a person who represents a different party. So you kind of have a choice on whether you're going to vote politically with the party or you're going to vote for the person. And you have a long list of people and a long list of parties, and you just can decide who you want to vote for. And it's all different ideas. So there's like Conservative, Labour, Liberal Democrat, Independents, there's the Green Party, there's the Monster Raving Loony Party. They're probably my favourites to say and mention on a live stream. But you can vote for whoever you want and whatever kind of political beliefs you hold. There's no problem with that. You don't have to tell anyone. It's a secret ballot. And there's a real kind of freedom in our elections. You choose who your ideals fit with most. In America, it's sort of similar, but they only have two real major political parties, the Democrats or the Republicans. You can have independents, and you vote for a president. You can then vote for a party, that kind of thing. So, excuse me. For example, in the upcoming election with Trump, Joe Biden is running for the Democrats. A lot of Americans will support Joe Biden on the fact that he is a Democrat rather than him being Joe Biden. Whereas a lot of Trump supporters support Trump rather than the Republican, or they're massive Republicans and they like to vote for Trump, that kind of thing. But there is that freeness that you can vote for who you want, and it can be whatever political idea. Whereas in the Soviet Union, I can't say too much about how Russia works now, but in the Soviet Union, the way their free elections would work is that you have got someone from, you've got the same party on the different ballot slip. It's just a different person. So you might have, for example, Julia Martin, Jeremy Martin, Esther Martin, Bethany Martin, Fletcher Martin, Bonnie Martin. Obviously, I know they're all the same names. And it's then who you pick to be part of the Communist Party, but they're all for the Communist Party. You vote for them, whoever, but there's no political choice. Okay, so it's not having a choice of who or what style of government you get, if that makes sense. And Stalin wanted friendly governments. So obviously he wanted communist governments because he wanted a government that would not then go and invade him. And Truman saw that as not truly free elections. And Stalin refused to submit to the pressure that the USA were putting on them, believing that it was like interfering with his way, which then leads to massive tension between Truman and Stalin, and then the USA and the USSR, and it leads to a get tough policy from Truman's point of view, which we will look at in a few lessons time. If you that's kind of it from me. I'm going to wrap it up at half an hour. Hopefully that will help you answer the questions on the Potsdam Conference. Please can you send me your work via Teams or via email. The textbook is attached. If it's not a good enough image, just let me know and I will send you another one. I'll scan another one in. But otherwise, I hope you have a really good day. If you need anything, I will be on Teams. I do have a meeting at 3 o'clock, but otherwise you are welcome to contact me. And anything you need, just let me know. Mock should be with you by the end of the week. So I've just got a few more to get through and then I will send them to you. Right, stay safe. And like I said, if you need any help, give me a shout. Bye.